When your brain is overloaded, it has a hard time discerning what to focus on. This is a sensory overload experience. Your brain is trying to prioritize incoming information. You may feel confusion and at the very least irritation. Don't worry, it will stop. Everybody take a deep breath. We're lucky that we can stop that. Those on the autism spectrum, however, are not so fortunate. Oftentimes, their sensory system is continuously overloaded and bombarded with stimuli from the environment. This is my perfect and amazing daughter, Sequoia. She was diagnosed with global delay at 1.5 years. At her second birthday, she was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder. Now, I had never heard of that, so I called my mom up crying and I said, they don't know what's wrong with her, and now they're making stuff up. And I believed that until I did some research. And ironically, the very condition that she was suffering from was something that I had struggled with my entire life. I just never had the words to capture it. I never had a way to put it into some sort of coherent understanding. But upon research, I was blown away at how our sensory systems control so much of our functioning. So by age 3, Sequoia was diagnosed with autism. Her challenges were significant. For her tiny 3 years, she already had 3 diagnoses. So what exactly is sensory processing disorder? It is essentially all of the incoming information that we take from the environment, everything that we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. And when these senses don't get integrated into the brain correctly, they can create this neurological traffic jam. And it can be discomforting or all the way to extreme suffering. So the senses can be hyper or heightened, or they can be hypo and maybe not even register. My daughter's sensory system is heightened. She's overstimulated visually, auditorily. Her sense of smell is so hyper that as a small child, she would often vomit if she would smell food. And when I say often, I mean several times a day. So we're not talking about like a hypersensitivity. We're talking about extreme exponential senses, like super senses. Now, if only we could take those super senses and turn them into superpowers, we could conquer the world. Okay, so there are 3 other sensory systems in our body besides the 5 senses. So vestibular, proprioceptive, and I just learned this new one, interoceptive. And the first 2 basically tell where your body is in time and space. And those are 2 that I still struggle with today. The third one that I just learned about, it is your body has receptors inside of your organs internally and in your muscle tissue. And these receptors send signals to your brain, telling your brain things like you're hot or you're cold or you're hungry or you have to go to the bathroom, all these things that we just take for granted. But if that system's not working correctly, it's not going to be very much fun for you. My daughter has never complained about being cold. She's 14 years old. She's never once complained about being cold. And I just thought, wow, she is a tough Montana kid. But I think she just doesn't register cold. Everyone has a sensory profile. To get you thinking about your sensory profile, consider where you would stand in a crowded room at a party. If you're auditorily overstimulated, you might choose to be on the outskirts, so the sound is not so loud. If you're visually overstimulated, you might stand in a corner to limit your peripheral vision. And if you're a sensory seeker, you're going to be in the middle of the room with all the other sensory seekers just chatting it up. So there are lots of sensory tools and accommodations. My daughter is wearing noise-canceling headphones here, and she has a hat to dim the lights. She's also sucking on her thumb. Sometimes she uses a chewy tube. This stimulates the proprioceptive joints in the jaw. And people that chew gum and chew ice or bite their nails, they're doing the same thing. These are coping techniques that we have come up with to calm our own sensory systems. We all make our own accommodations. Usually we're just not aware of it. So some other accommodations that you can make if you're trying to help someone that you can tell is overstimulated. You can turn the lights down. You can turn the sound down. That would be great right now. People with autism are extremely intelligent and often very creative. Their brains work differently. So they're often able to hyper-focus and really dive down a topic of their interest, taking it much further than a neurotypical person might care to. And that has helped to advance our sciences. In fact, there are many famous people on the autism spectrum, or at least speculated to be on the spectrum. Einstein, Isaac Newton, Thomas Edison, Van Gogh, and Mozart, just to name a few names. Of course, we can't hold every person with autism to these high standards, but we can know the possibility is there and do our best to help each person to reach their potential, because we all have a gift. That's why we're here. And oftentimes, people with autism have tremendous talents and even divine gifts that are buried under a mountain of struggles. But with the right scaffolding and support, we can help to nurture those gifts to the surface. So how do we connect to someone with autism? This is the question I get asked the most. And it's really important that we remember everybody has this basic fundamental need for love and acceptance. We all want to be appreciated for who we are. We all want to feel valued. And so you would connect the same way you would connect to anyone, just by bringing your authentic self to the conversation. Smile, say hi, be genuine. People with autism don't always make eye contact. In fact, sometimes it's painful for them to make eye contact. They don't always have a connection with their own feelings or the feelings with people around them. And so you can say something like, "What are you doing today?" instead of "How are you doing today?" And then you might get a more concrete answer. "Oh, I'm going to school," or "I'm going shopping with my mom," or whatever it is. It might be an easier thing for them to answer than "How are you feeling today?" Sequoia's way to connect is to come running up to you, whether you know her or not, and to jump right into your bubble, your personal space bubble. And with a great big smile, she says, "Hi, what's your name?" Even if she knows your name. And then when you say your name, she finger spells it in sign language, and then she runs off, goes to the next person. It's her way to connect, but it's really cool when the person that she's meeting says, "Oh, you know sign language, show me how to do that." And then you've got an interaction and an engagement going on. And every person is different. It's important to remember, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. That's the golden rule. So you can just keep trying until you find that foot in the door. And if you really want to make the connection, you will. Kindness matters. It really does matter. It matters to the children. It matters to the families. And kindness is the single most important thing that we can do to foster inclusivity in our community. Kindness doesn't cost a thing. And what if it were the new currency? So we need to teach our children to be kind and to embrace diversity. Children learn by your examples and by your willingness to have the conversations that educate and your willingness to follow up on those conversations. Say, "Hey, did you have a chance to say hi to someone today that you normally wouldn't say hi to?" Or, "Did you sit by someone at lunch that was sitting alone?" And just keep having those conversations of inclusion and focus on the commonalities as opposed to the differences. And it's important to start young, but it's never too late. Another thing that you can do is to get involved. You can find a local organization and take your child on a Saturday afternoon for an hour. Just go volunteer. Give your children a new experience. And the Special Olympics provides an opportunity for that. My daughter's participated in Special Olympics for 5 years now. She does downhill skiing and snowshoe racing, and she loves it. And I love it. And what I love most about it is the volunteers. This incredible group of over 300 people come together in service to show love and support and acceptance for these kids, and they put on a fantastic event every year. So 5 years ago, I wanted my daughter to be able to participate in activities such as art and summer camps and things that just weren't available here in the Valley. So I started a nonprofit, Bitterroot Arts for Autism, underneath the umbrella Bitterroot Resource Conservation and Development. In this picture, we are at Homestead Organics Farm for Farm Camp. The Homestead Organics Farm wrote a grant hiring high school teens to work one-on-one with our kids. And this was really a win-win because it gives these teenagers the opportunity to have training and experience with children of all abilities. And our kids look up to these teens like they're heroes. And they really are. So 2 years ago, myself and our board created HEARTISM Community Center. And my hope for that was to create a safe haven, a space where families could come together to share our stories, to share our hopes and our dreams, and our joys and our concerns, and our laughter and our tears in a place without judgment. This was our latest sensory art camp, and I'm showing you this picture for 2 reasons. For one, the kids are just adorable. And for 2, I want you to see how much support it takes to pull off these kinds of events. We have 9 children participating, and we have 8 volunteer staff and support. And we pretty much need a 1-to-1 ratio to be able to give each child the love and support that they need to be successful. So our community center has blossomed. Our kids are finding success in their element, be it a cooking class, art, music, yoga, or just playing in the sensory gym. We know that children thrive when given the opportunities to participate in these fully supported activities. HEARTISM is a blueprint, a model, beneficial to rural areas anywhere, lacking in services and resources. I encourage communities everywhere to embrace this idea of creating sacred spaces of inclusivity for people of all abilities. If we're taught to meet diversity with curiosity and kindness and an open heart and mind, we're participating in our own emotional evolution and that of our children. As children, we don't always understand how our actions impact other people. But as we grow and we learn and we do better, we can see the world around us become a better place. And in a world where you can be anything, be kind.